This is breakfast coffee for me, so...
Yes, it's not breakfast. I've been up for far too long.
I've been up, what? I've been up like an hour.
That's more than acceptable. Yeah. I mean, for somebody who's worked the nights, that's more than acceptable.
I think I went to bed at like 4 or 5ish. So.
Okay. Yeah, so I got up like an hour after you went to bed.
Yeah. It's usually the way. Like I come in, I'll text a few people, and I'm like, "Why are you awake?" It's like, "I'm waking up," and I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm going to sleep." So goodbye. Cool. We'll crack on then.
Yeah.
So welcome to the Yelling at Concrete podcast. Finally.
How many attempts is it?
It's got to have been like 5
at least
attempts to get
it
us in the same room. The amount of issues we've had.
Yeah, we got there though.
I mean, even today,
today.
It was like semi
battling the odds.
But I was trying to think when we originally met.
2 years ago.
Is it 2 years ago?
Last frequency.
It seems like it was last year in my head. 2
years ago. Frequency is happening again this year, isn't it? So 2017.
Yeah. And what were you doing on that?
I was the production coordinator for Threshold Studios at the time.
Fair enough.
And was organising all the workshops and sorting out artists and making sure they all had beds and were happy with their installs and...
Oh, I mean, that sounds like a nightmare.
I learnt a lot.
Yeah.
I was an intern for Threshold 2 years before.
Yeah.
And then obviously I became part of the team February 2017. Yeah. And then I finished with them last year, so it's been about a year since I left.
Fair.
There, yeah.
So what's your official role now, if I was to give you one?
So I came up with my own job title because I don't really fit in the industry quite how people would want me to.
Okay.
So I call myself a Curator Educator.
Curator Educator.
Which nobody goes, what's that?
I mean, you curate education is what I infer from that title.
Yeah, it's kind of a combination. For me, it's what a curator should be, but isn't currently in the industry.
Okay.
And because my work overlaps with doing exhibition work and workshops and community projects, I kind of have to have a mismatched title to kind of suit it. Like
an author of
if I just called myself a curator, people would expect me to live in a gallery or a museum.
I guess so.
Or be doing stuff in the public realm, just doing exhibitions, where for me it's a bit more than that, and it's kind of... My background is art education.
Okay.
And I've worked in schools and I've done lots of different work in education settings and tried to bring that into the curatorial side of things and how people see things, how people engage things, and how you create a narrative for people to engage with.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
I mean, it seems to make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I see when you're posting and whatnot, it's a lot of activity, workshops and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm focusing on at the moment because I'm now a proper business. I set up as legal stuff and adulthood, which I'm not sure I like at the minute, but
I don't think anyone likes adulthood.
No,
it's just thrust upon you.
Yeah, you're an adult, you have to function.
I don't even think no one gives you a memo. I feel like
just happens.
When you get your national insurance card when you're younger. Mm-hmm. I don't even know if they do.
You don't get them anymore.
Do you not get them?
No.
Right. We're so old. When you get that card when you're 14, 15 or whatever it is, and it's cool. So you're now officially you're a citizen.
Be on the payroll.
Yeah, you're a citizen of the world now.
Yeah.
So it's thrust upon you, but there's no adult card, which you get when you're 26. They come along and go, you're officially
you're officially an adult. You officially have to do adult things.
You have to have responsibilities.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't think I want that card. I think I'd send it back there. I'd be like, no, I don't want this yet. Can you send it me a bit later?
A little bit later.
Yeah.
Just postpone it a decade.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, a decade from now. Yeah, definitely. And that can be a proper grown up now. Then.
I think I've had this conversation. I think maybe it's like the risk of the podcast being with a fair amount of people who are my age or younger. I don't think I've had anyone who's gone, yeah, I feel like an adult. Oh, I know what makes me an adult.
I think, well, I kind of know what makes me an adult, but I don't, like, want to be it.
I don't know, like, maybe... Because it's that kind of thing of, like, you've got all these little milestones when you're like, 16 through 18, or I guess 16 through 25 if you count renting a van. But I feel like that's a real minute one.
I mean, that's a milestone. I've not ticked that off, so maybe I'm not a real adult yet then.
Yeah, you need to go rent a van.
Well, I wouldn't be able to drive it. I could rent it, but I wouldn't be able to drive it.
Okay. Oh yeah, you know, small steps. But yeah, it's like you get all those little ones, and that's meant to make you, and they just kind of like, they dapper off.
Yeah.
As you get to your 30s.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Well, I've already hit my 30s, so.
Yeah, I hit it this year.
Yeah.
November's my 30th.
Okay, so I hit mine last year.
Which again, like, it didn't bother me. Like the idea of turning 30 until I turned 29.
Yeah, I think 29 is worse than 30.
It is.
Definitely. 29's like
so
you're on
much
the
waiting
edge.
around. And nobody...
But I just want to be 30 now. Let's skip 29. Let's just go 28, 30 and we're done.
There's that Blink-182 song of like, no one likes you when you're 23. I feel like 29 is exactly that.
Nobody likes when you're 29.
No one likes you when you're 29. Because like 20 to 27-year-olds, 28-year-olds, they're all like, I'm in my 20s, you know? I know what's happening with life. And all 30-year-olds are like, I've been through it, it's fine, I'm in my 30s.
Yeah.
And you sat there at 29 just like, please talk to me.
29 is, a little bit of limbo.
It is. It's a whole... I feel like 28 is 29.
Yeah, especially like, so my birthday's December, so it's waiting the whole year for that. It's like a proper
bookmark at the end of the year.
It's like, come on.
I don't know if that's better or worse than the beginning of the year.
Well, if you had it at the beginning of the year, you get it over and then you're like, yeah, I'm just going to, this is 30 year.
Yeah.
Go with it. Whereas you go, I'll wait a full, obviously everybody waits a full 12 months for their next birthday, but...
Some people just skip forward.
Yeah,
it's like, you know what? No, I want 31. Let's go do it.
Let's just fast forward.
If we do it now, I don't have to do it later.
Yeah,
and I have free time now.
Yeah. Or you could do what one of my mates does and have their birthdays the 28th of December. They have essentially become the queen and have a second birthday in the middle of the year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
I feel like I missed a trick there.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of December birthdays do that. I know quite a few people. I know more people than I probably should who have birthdays on Christmas Eve.
I'm on Christmas Eve.
This is. It's like I know at least 7 or 8 people who have a birthday on Christmas Eve, and I'm like, the probability of this is like, what happens 9 months before Christmas Eve that makes everyone like, you know what, we should probably have a baby.
I was 2 weeks early, so
okay. I think I was late. No, maybe. I don't know. Because I'm like start of November, and then I think I was meant to be born just after bonfire night.
Okay.
And I came just before bonfire night. In like an early morning rush.
Early morning
out
rush.
of my mother. But back to creating.
Yeah, it was a slight side note.
That's the beauty of having an hour. You can just chat about whatever you want to chat about. But yeah, so you like...
a mix of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, having your own job title, does that mean that you can never apply for a job?
It means I can apply for multiple, because I can just go, well, today I'm more curator than I am educator. And for me, the two interweave, and like it's the way the two influence each other.
Yeah.
And like when I did my MA, that's kind of when I came up with that like job title.
Did you do MA in curation then?
Yeah, I did it here in Lincoln. Yeah. Yeah, I've now covered all the universities in Lincoln. I did my BA at BG and did my MA down the hill.
I mean, my opinion on Lincoln University is mixed.
Oh, I really enjoyed my MA. There was 5 of us on the course. Part of the reason why, unfortunately, the course doesn't exist anymore. It was like scrapped after 4 years, which is a massive shame because it was a fantastic course. There was so much the reason I applied for it was that it was the practical element. It was that actually it was more learning as you're doing, and that's kind of how I learn anyway.
Yeah.
And I wanted something where I got a lot of experience because I knew that's what I would need to go into the field.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's when I kind of came up with this idea of the curator educator role.
Yeah.
Because part of the MA was kind of interrogating what this role of the curator is and looking at different exhibitions and looking at how people put an exhibition together from the interpretation to what they select and everything like that. And even talking part of the MA was actually talking to people currently in the field, and we had to one of our assignments was picking an exhibition and literally analysing it.
Okay.
And I picked the Rothko exhibition from 2007-8 at the Tate Modern.
All right.
And the strand I was interrogating was the use of interpretation, because there was so much of it. You can still go on the Tate's website today and look at the exhibition online, and you'll see all the panels of text. And I have a real big bugbear about in museums, galleries, anywhere where they're using a lot of interpretation, because for me then the audience is being told not necessarily told what to think, but they've been given a lot more information before they've even had a chance to look at it themselves.
Yeah, they're trying to contextualise it to such a
level.
Yeah,
definitely. And I think the Tate does, in my opinion, some things right, and they do some things that I would suggest they improve upon. Their interpretation is one of them, because I have literally sat in the middle of Tate Modern because I'm a strange being and I like to see how people interact in a gallery space, because I
think everyone people watches.
Yeah,
that's one of those. Especially the Tate
specifically doing it in a gallery is probably a bit more niche.
Especially the Tate, though, I found it's a great place because so many people go to the Tate because it's the Tate. No other, they don't even have to be interested in that. They'll go
it's a name.
The Tate.
It's a name, isn't it? It's kind of like I'm in London. I should go to Tate Modern. I should go to Tate Britain.
Yeah, and you kind of get people, and you sit and watch them, and you can recognise the different separations.
Yeah, definitely.
Here's the tourists who have come because it's the Tate.
Yeah.
Here's the art students because they're sat sketching for some reason. I've never done that. I've never
understood that. I've never sat in a gallery.
I don't go why you go to a gallery to sketch someone else's sculpture.
It feels very like GCSE art, doesn't it? And here's a thing that you have to draw. Yeah. I really hated GCSE art for that reason. I tried to rebel against my art teacher so much. I think he really disliked me for that fact.
I think that's why I didn't get the grade I wanted. Yeah.
Well, I proved my art teacher wrong. He predicted me a C. I got an A. In your face.
See, mine seems so minimal because it's I came out with an A, but I wanted an A star.
Yeah.
And there was me and another girl in the class who we were basically the top students in the art class, and she came out with an A star. And I was fuming about it because I was like, what is the difference between me and her?
Yeah.
And it's because she did very traditional paintings, landscapes, all those kinds of things, whereas I did this massive mixed media piece about the Holocaust. And I was just my art teacher doesn't really like mixed media.
Yeah, and the amount of discussions I've had with art teachers over the years about how they perceive your work influences the mark they give.
Oh yeah.
I've had arguments with art teachers over the years. One told me that art's not subjective. I was like, ooh.
You teach art?
You teach what?
How?
No, I don't believe this is true.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the Tate, I've literally watched people. You've got the interpretation panel, the piece of work. I've seen them read for 5 minutes, then glance at the piece of artwork, and then walk on. I'm like, this is back to front. It needs to be the other way around. So if you got rid of that interpretation panel or you minimised it, that experience would be different. And particularly looking at Rothko, for me, Rothko is it's a piece of artwork that is, you experience it.
Yeah.
And Like, I still think that the Tate are missing a massive trick by not having proper, like, seating in the Rothko room that they still currently have.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, they need to have, like, just, like, chaise-longs. And people just chill. I would be so happy just to chill in a room full of Rothkos.
I
That
find
sounds so weird, a room full of Rothkos.
a room full of Rothkos, just him. Like, a Rothko, I always find him funny. Because I think it's one of those artists who a lot of people know, but they know because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those ones, it takes a moment to figure it out.
Yeah, definitely.
And I remember, I think it was like when Tate had someone who was working and we went as GCSE. My mum went with us. She like instantly said to us, like, I don't like this. I don't get it.
I could do that at home.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I don't understand it. I prefer the things in the other room, which is the classical art and stuff. And I was like, this is kind of the point. You know, you're not really meant to connect with it in any way. Everyone takes something else from it. Some people who've never done art will walk in and go, this is amazing. I don't understand it, but I have this connection to it.
Yeah. I think it's the feeling that it creates. And I think, it's that mixed emotion that it creates. And I quite like, as part of studying it, was I looked at the history behind the paintings, and the paintings have got a lot of history, and Rothko was a bit of a diva as well. Because the paintings that they've got in Tate, I can't remember how many there are, but there's several in the series, and he was supposed to be creating it for this fancy building, which then it kept changing what this thing was going to be. It was supposed to be for a building, it was supposed to be for a restaurant, and Rothko got commissioned. He was paid to do these paintings. I went, no, you're not putting them there. I'm not having my artwork there. That's not great. Right. I know, right? I mean, we'd be like,
It's like, you paid me, but no.
No, exactly. It's like proper diva artist, and I love it so much.
So it's like, I will pay you back. No.
I don't think he would have offered. He'd be like, no, my artwork is not going in this space. No. It's not right.
Such a disconnect from what art is now, where everyone's just like, no, I will pay to get my work into an exhibition. I will pay the entry fee or whatever you need. It's like, definitely. No, you've paid me, but I'm not putting it here.
No, my artwork does not go in this space. No. Oh, if only we could do that now. Well, you could.
Why not?
You could, but it'd be very different. Probably wouldn't get your artwork seen, but
that's the way to like gain reputation. Just like, nobody knows who I am, but you're not putting my work in there.
Yeah. Have you heard of this artist?
You're not allowed.
Keeps refusing to let anybody put his artwork anywhere.
Nobody's offering, but just keeps going on Twitter, just going, you're not allowed my artwork. And I'm so intrigued.
Why can't we have it? Reverse psychology, I like it.
It's that beautiful thing. As soon as something's exclusive, everyone wants in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're going to hide it. This is where I'm going wrong. I give away my artwork for free.
There you go, see? There you go. Learn from Rothko.
Just start out with diva aspects.
Start out with diva and go from there. You'll be alright.
I've been reading, Grayson Perry's Playing in Galleries book.
Okay, yeah.
And I just kind of got to the chapter which is all about like popular art and how what's seen as like the best art is not necessarily the best art because it's done by popular vote, but popular vote doesn't necessarily mean anything. Mm-hmm. And there's was it the Hockney exhibition? Maybe Hockley exhibition? Don't know. Can't remember. Gone off the top of my head. But there's an exhibition at Tate in Liverpool. Yeah. Which most art critics considered terrible.
Okay.
Like the curation of it, the pieces chosen, and they were saying this is just a bad display of work. Yeah. Yet they reported like the best footfall they've ever had. And it was that kind of just disconnect of, what is it good art, or if the public like it, because of the public going to see it because it's art, or are they going to see it because it's popular? Yeah. Is it a name? Yeah. What draws in?
Hockney's a big name, isn't it?
It is.
Interesting. Yeah, I like Grayson Perry.
Yeah.
Because he says it how it is.
He does.
Have you listened to his Wreath lectures?
No.
Very similar to the book.
Yeah.
Kind of. I've not read the book, but just kind of your description there is similar topics. And I like that he's not afraid to kind of say like, what we're all thinking, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think it's good to have those sort of voices in that kind of sector. It's been interesting for me because I've not really been in a very arty sector for a while in terms of like, I've probably since I've moved to Northampton, I think I've been to 2 exhibition openings in Northampton, and just starting to kind of get into that scene because there's lots of pockets of things, a bit like Lincoln.
Yeah. Lincoln does like its cliques.
There's lots of things going on. Yeah.
Buds of things going on.
Also, because nobody understands what I do. Downside of giving your own job description.
Yeah.
And job title, because people go, I don't understand. What are you? I go, well, I'm just basically I'm a curator, but how a curator should be.
Yeah. I think I have that problem. Like with the work I do.
Yeah.
I kind of, it's one of those things if someone asks me what I do, and I always say, tell them I do nothing. And it's just an instant reaction. It's like, what do you? I don't do anything. And then someone nearby me goes, no, Graham does this, this, and this. And I'm like, no, I just don't want to have to go through the list of things which I do. And it's like, there's a piece which is in the front I've made for an open exhibition. So it's watercolour illustration, but I don't feel like it will get into an open exhibition.
Okay.
Because it's not illustration enough, because it's not clean enough. It's quite sketchy because my style's quite sketchy. So it can't really be considered just illustration, but it's not abstract enough or edgy enough or stylized enough to be considered fine art. Okay. So it falls into that little middle ground.
Give yourself a job title.
Where I sit. Yeah. I'm just Graham. That's my job title. So what do you do?
Graham.
I'm Graham. Just yelling at concrete.
What's the job description of Graham?
Drinking coffee and putting other people at ease is generally my view of the world. So I'm curious, because I'm terrible at researching people.
Go for it.
So you started through like curation stuff, and you do your activities and workshops and getting people involved. Yeah. Do you create?
I get asked this a lot. I don't consider myself an artist.
Okay. I
haven't made a piece of... Actually, no, I'm about to tell you a fib. I painted a couple of weeks ago for the first time in forever. Yeah. But that was at somebody else's workshop.
Okay.
And it was an oil painting workshop, which I've never used oil paints before.
Yeah, I've never used oils.
Not nicer than I thought they'd be. Yeah.
Easier to learn than you thought?
Yeah. Especially the artist that was teaching the session, there was no what I call arty-farty language. Right. It's you smush it here, you swish it. I love the fact that it was like swishes and things. It just made it feel quite poetic. It feels quite, I like this. This is nice.
It's become dance.
Yeah, I like it. And I was actually quite impressed with myself. I mean, I also like the fact that she kind of gave us this image. We were in the countryside. And she said, this is kind of your inspiration image, but obviously you don't have to copy it, which a lot of sort of those style workshops would be like, right, we're going to do this very precisely, and I really dislike that. Yeah. I'm not a very sort of precise person like that. I'm a terrible baker for this reason, because I don't do precision. I'm like, we'll just put it in and see what happens. Yeah. Much better cook than a baker, that's for that reason. And also in that kind of, I only have precision where it needs it. I don't kind of like to be over precise with things. So actually, that was a really nice workshop to do it that way. But besides that, I haven't made a piece of artwork since I finished my undergrad, which was like 2011. Okay. A bit more crafty things. Yeah. Which is more of like a therapeutic type thing, and just kind of a...
Yeah, see, because there is this kind of like disconnect, which I've tried to kind of figure out between craft and art. Yeah. And it's this like weird little thing, because it's like I've seen art which is made from craft process, and I'd consider like stuff to do with like felt and materials and stuff, kind of crafty.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've seen fine art pieces which are made out of these materials and these things. Whereas at the same time, I've seen people do oil painting and acrylics and all this kind of stuff, but in more of a craft sense.
Yeah.
So it's like this weird little segregation.
Yeah, I think my sort of experience of it is what skill they put on it.
Right. Okay.
And that's not my opinion of it. Actually, I think there's a lot of value in doing more basic things in terms of it's also what you're doing it for. I think it's kind of and what you want to get out of it as well. Yeah. And I think public perception, kind of a lot of workshops that I do, many artists be like, "What is she doing?"
Right.
They wouldn't like what I'd be doing.
Yeah.
So a lot of them seem quite simple. I did a radio interview a few months ago, and they were like, "Oh, so these things are almost like childlike."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay." I was a tiny bit insulted.
Hurt me a little bit there.
Yeah, I was like, I'm on live radio. I can't tell you to be quiet.
You should definitely tell me. It's like, so you do finger paintings? It's like, well, I wouldn't call them finger paintings.
Yeah. I suppose because they could be done, because a lot of things I do are intergenerational.
Yeah.
And that's what I try and, it's about people expressing themselves. For me, that's the important thing.
Right.
And it's trying to get it at a level where people can access it.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the things may seem childlike.
Yes.
But it's not, it's kind of what people get out of it. So you've probably seen, like, I do Crafternoon sessions.
Yeah.
Which is an initiative that I commandeered from Mine charity.
Okay.
So they do it once a year.
Right, okay.
That
seems like really, like, once a year.
Yeah, they do it once a year. So they've had it like I think it was last month.
Seems like it should be a monthly.
And they have, like, it's kind of one of those, like, yearly events. Everybody's going to do Crafternoon this weekend. Okay. And I thought, this is a really great idea.
Yeah.
Let's try and pilot it somewhere.
Okay.
So I did. And I went, okay. I'm constantly looking for different things to do because my brain can only come up with so many ideas.
Yeah.
And I've been doing sessions since October last year. I do them every week. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of different sessions.
That is a lot of different sessions.
So I have to Pinterest, please help me.
What is trending?
Yeah, what's happening in the world of craft?
Like everyone's into decoupage. We'll do that.
Yeah. It's like, quick to Hobbycraft. Yes. So kind of looking at it, I think it's what you want to use it for and what you want to get out of it, and kind of using it in that way. So for Crafternoon, it's kind of people doing something that they can access, that they could do at home. Mm-hmm. The materials are not expensive. That if they did want to do it at home, then they can do that. And I always say, like, people can take materials home with them so they can carry on, because it's like some things will take more than the 3 hours that we're there. Yeah. And everybody's also, we have a cup of tea, we have a natter. Some people just want to have a natter. Yeah. And that's cool.
Just more about the company for a lot of people.
It's about kind of that sense of community as well, which is something that I'm really is a strong strand throughout my work at the moment. So when I describe my work, it's kind of it feels like I'm talking like an artist, but I'm not, because my practice is different.
I still think it's enough of a specialisation that you can describe it as your work. Like if there was like an accountant describing it, they'd still describe it as, well, in my work. Yeah,
I do. It just feels a bit weird sometimes, and then people are like, so you're an artist? I'm like, no.
Yeah. I think in a way that curation's something which I don't feel like I could ever do, because I don't have this is going to sound terrible considering I work in quality assurance, I don't have the attention to detail for events, and I don't care. Yeah. Like, I don't care about the technical aspects of it. Mm-hmm. I don't care about setting up someone else's work. I care about the concept. And that's what kind of drives me. So when people do go, oh no, I'm gonna explore curation, I'm gonna explore, teaching people and opening all these avenues and stuff, I'm like, why? You've just removed all concept and gone straight for the admin side.
The admins. That makes my job sound really boring.
Well, no, this is because I'm like, it's a skill which I appreciate, because I'm like, I just don't get it. Because in my head it becomes very admin. It's the stuff which I avoid.
I can understand that. There is kind of I suppose there is a quite big element that is kind of admin, organisation, that sort of thing. Yeah. I still think there's an element of content. I suppose it's depending on the partnership between like the curator and the artists.
Yeah.
I think the last kind of big things I've curated, I've had to come up with the concept as well.
Yeah.
And that's with working with artists and also working with this is the one I like to drop in. I worked with the Freemasons 2 years ago. Everybody goes, "Oh, okay, how did you get that?"
Just approach them.
No, so my uncle's a Freemason, and 2 years ago they had their tercentenary celebrations.
Oh, I think I saw about that, yeah.
And so outside of London, Leicestershire has one of the biggest collections of Masonic artefacts.
All right,
There's some really strange things. And things I absolutely love. Yeah. My favourite was the Masonic jelly mould.
Masonic jelly mould.
So
when you're having a dinner party and you still want to be a Freemason.
And it was it was interesting, totally different way of working in terms of curatorial practice, and I mean I was sort of a curator / designer, researcher for that, because I did everything for that project, from researching, coming up with the sort of brief, pitching to the powers that be, the provincial Grand Master, which still sounds like a wizard. I feel like I might be a bit magic now.
Yeah, why not?
Maybe.
Hanging out with Freemasons.
Yeah, why not? But I love projects where I kind of learn things as well. Yeah. And actually, they're quite an interesting... I'm going to call them an organisation. I don't know whether they would describe themselves as that, but...
I mean, they've got to be organised somewhere, right?
Well,
that's how I'd count it. Yeah. Large collection of people who require organisation.
Are you organised? Yes,
they're an organisation.
There you go.
Otherwise, they're just a rabble.
They're not a rabble.
They have titles. They're organised.
They're very organised. But it's interesting kind of delving into the history, because I'm originally from Leicester, so actually delving into the history of Leicester, and the way I wanted to curate the exhibition was... And the reason I think why they hired me was, I barely knew anything about Freemasonry. So it was a total new person coming into this and looking at it from an outsider's perspective. Mm-hmm. Because it was going to be a public exhibition. They needed that fresh pair of eyes and that perspective. And actually, what would the people of Leicester be interested in? They're not going to be interested in the 20 mayors of Leicester who were Freemasons, because it doesn't have any relevance to them.
No.
And so I got given a lot of Masons who are very passionate about the history of Freemasonry. Yeah. Which, fair enough, it's quite interesting. Yeah. William Hogarth was a Freemason. There you go. I've actually seen some of his prints in Leicester, which I almost cried because they put pins in them.
Oh.
As a curator, I was just like, I can't cope with this. Like, take them away, because I can't look at this. They're like, oh, it's fine. I'm like, it's not fine. You put pins in... And then it's in direct sunlight as well. I can't cope with this.
This is stuff which is exactly why I couldn't be a curator. Because I just don't care. I'd be like, bit of blue tack.
My worst nightmare.
So I need to hang this here. Anyone got tape?
Sellotape, double-sided. Oh, no. But the significance, you can appreciate the significance of Hogarth prints. Yes,
I can significance the requirement to archive and not damage.
And also sticking pins, drawing pins that obviously come from Wilko's. Yeah. In a cabinet with direct sunlight, it's going to damage it, which then means obviously it's not going to be around. And also just that, the significance of actually him being a Mason, and actually his prints and his work were quite almost taking the mickey out of that kind of lifestyle at the time in terms of that Victorian era as well, which I think is really interesting. But yeah, just kind of working with them was really interesting, from looking at all these different artifacts and things. The reason I found the jelly mould was stuff that I went down to the main hall in London, which is humongous. Oh my gosh. Lots of giant chairs, which feels slightly unnecessary, but...
You can have an organisation. Why not have a giant chair?
I mean, there's a lot of giant chairs. I mean, I need a leg up to get on some of those chairs.
Maybe people were bigger back in the day.
And I spotted this, and I just thought it was just so random.
Yeah.
I was like, who decided that they needed a Masonic jelly mould? Like a copper jelly mould with like the square and compass symbol on top of it.
I love stuff like that though. It's like when you watch like documentaries about any kind of like religious party or anything like that, and they like to go around their house or whatever, and they'll just be like, everything will have a crucifix on it, or everything will have like their symbol on it. And you're like, who's producing this?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
who's going to look into this further?
Yeah, you know, it's like my toilet roll holder. It definitely needs Jesus on it. He needs to be right there. You just like, no, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
It's like, oh no, but you know, I'm a Christian. So
he needs,
I don't
whatever floats your boat, I suppose.
And it happens in every organisation.
Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I came back to Leicester and I was like, oh, I saw this jelly mould, and they're like, oh, we've got one. I was like, what? This is going in the exhibition.
This was mass produced.
Yeah. Because they would literally have, in sort of that Victorian era, they would have like their fireplaces and their mantelpiece would be full of Masonic stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm going to recreate one of these with all the random stuff that I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Including the jelly mold, my fave, and the light, a light bulb which the filament was like a square and compass. Like, who came up with that?
Who's putting the time in it? This just shows people have too much free time.
Just like some like a cribbage board. I don't really know what cribbage is. But apparently it was a cribbage board, but it just looked really cool. But everything had like Masonic symbolisms on them. And
I just had a weird thought. So it's like the only way I can contextualize this, like as why or people would do this. So you know when you get fandoms. Yeah. So like people who love like anything. So like Doctor Who. And then their day-to-day job is like they're a baker. Yeah. And they go, I should make some Doctor Who cakes. Yeah. Or something like that. And then this guy's just like, I work in a light bulb factory. I can make a Doctor Who light bulb. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. And it's just that level of like interest.
The Masonic T-shirt wasn't out back then, so the light bulb and the jelly mold it was. Yeah. And teapots, many teapots, many Masonic.
I can imagine mugs and teapots.
And some really cool glasses, which are like all brightly coloured and stuff. Really cool stuff. And stuff from around the world as well, because it's like, I didn't know how international it was. But it was just, I liked doing that exhibition because it was just totally different. And it opened up like a new avenue. I was like, oh, the world of heritage, which I hadn't really delved into before. Yeah. And I like the fact that I learnt a lot about sort of the organisation, but also actually locally. Yeah. I kind of was doing research at the archives in Leicester and looking at sort of the historical side of the city, which like I've grown up in it. I didn't know a lot of the stuff that was there, which was interesting, and also using archives and things and part of exhibitions is quite interesting because it underused resource as far as I'm concerned. I've not even found the one in Northampton yet, so I feel like it's hidden.
Probably all of these things are hidden.
Yeah, like, the Lincoln one's pretty good. Yeah. Did my I worked with them for my MA exhibition because we had to do a module actually where we did produce an exhibition. Yeah. From concept to delivery in 3 months. There you go.
Seems like a lot of work.
It was a lot of work. Yeah, that was a full-time MA.
So in terms of like heritage and projects and stuff like that, and the art world, who's easier to work with?
Well, the heritage...
Artists or heritage experts?
I mean,
because I feel like they're both quite passionate people.
They are, yeah.
But in completely different ways.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, there's some overlaps though. Very precious about you touching things.
Okay.
Don't touch my stuff. Don't touch this without like a million pairs of gloves on. Or some of them's like, oh no, touch them with your hands because wearing gloves makes it worse. I'm like, what back to front world is this? Yeah, I think working, they're just totally different. Precious about different things. Generally, generally just like making sure, obviously. I think my experience of heritage people is making sure everything comes back in one piece. I mean, artists are quite precious about. Yeah. But
I guess with artists, generally you can make another one. Whereas heritage is
heritage stuff like, well, that was the only one.
Few decades old now.
Yeah, and I think it's who you work with. So obviously, part of the exhibition with the Freemasons, we borrowed stuff from their sort of museum and library, and they wanted to pack everything up. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah,
you do that.
Saves me.
That's
job.
Cool. Yeah. Because then they knew exactly what was in each box. We didn't. Some lovely admin, which you would have loved. Nice inventory list.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was in each box? Make sure everything was returned. Everything went back. They did trust me to pack it away when we finished, so that was cool.
That's cool.
They did come and pick it up though, which is fine.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any. I only have public transport, so.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense then. That kind of stuff.
I've then worked with archives. They are depending on what it is.
Yeah.
So when I worked with the Lincolnshire archives, they actually wanted everything in those proper sealed cases.
Okay.
Obviously the light had to be a certain wattage, which I learned things about light bulbs.
More things than you wanted to know about light bulbs.
Some weird special equipment that goes in the bottom of those glass cases. So when you see those glass cases in the museum and all you see is that top glass bit and there's obviously that big chunk underneath, there's stuff under there. And they have this special stuff that basically prevents kind of the moisture coming in and all that sort of things, and it's about £200 a pop. Luckily they donated that because I had no budget for my exhibition.
I mean, they could just pin it to a board.
You are a heritage person's worst nightmare.
Oh, I am. If I went to
they wouldn't let
an archive and they gave me some things and they were like, "Oh, you need to wear gloves," I'd wear the gloves as instructed. But as soon as their back was turned, I'd want to touch it without gloves. I'd just be like,
just look what I'm doing. Look, touching it. Nightmare. I'd say they're just very different. I think it also depends on the nature of the people that you're working with. So I've worked with artists who are quite relaxed and they're very chill. Some that aren't as much.
No names.
I'm not mentioning names. You never know, they might listen and then they'll never want to work with me again.
If they're that bad, do you really want to work with them again?
No, I mean nobody's been Roscoe Diva.
Okay.
Artwork cannot go in this space. It's obviously it's your work. I understand it. It's your work. You want to have it portrayed in a certain way, and a lot of the times, sort of my role is kind of trying to battle through those things in the background that kind of they're not happy about. And trying to work with the venue, because it's normally you're working with another venue. It's not normally a space that you have control over, so you got to negotiate with them. So it's kind of it's an interesting role. It's not your normal kind of. It's more than admin.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
It's definitely more. I think I kind of like what interests me about what you do is because you do have like the range essentially, because you've put yourself in this position of doing everything, and then you've got your like the activities and craft afternoons and all this kind of stuff, which you've brought together. Well, then I guess for some people that overriding question of why would you want to do that?
Why would I want to do different things?
Well, no, why would you want to why would you want to be the process which brings stuff to people? Like, what's the point in curating something in such a way that it's accessible, or doing like activity afternoons, because people could do that at home, people could look it up online, you could just put work in a room.
Yeah, could.
So I guess like for some people it's just like, that's a lot of effort for art or for heritage.
Well, I think people, I think people underestimate the power of like art.
Yeah.
And I think for me it's something that a lot of people say, "Oh, I can't draw." I'm like, "Can you pick up a pencil? You can draw.
Yeah.
You can write. You can draw." I'm not expecting you to be Da Vinci because I haven't got those skill sets. So, but for me, it's about giving it a go and providing those things. Yes, you could do those home. People could look at them home. Not everybody can though.
No.
Not everybody would know how to do that. And kind of a lot of the sessions that I run, there's people from all sorts of backgrounds, all sorts of like additional needs, whether that's learning, whether it's physical. They might not have access to those, and it's about providing something that then they can access. That if I can put something in place that helps somebody else, I'm doing my job right. Mm-hmm. And that's whether I'm doing a workshop, whether I'm putting together an exhibition, whether I'm doing a community project.
Yeah.
I think the ethos that kind of runs through my work is making things accessible, making things inclusive, and breaking down barriers, because with like, there's still kind of a little stigma with art. Art is this. Art is those big fancy paintings that you see in museums and galleries. That's not for me. I can't do that. And stripping it back to kind of, it's more of a like, so I'm going to say this, and I actually have value in craft and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Stripping it back to things that are more basic.
Okay, yeah.
And the way people perceive it. And you are being creative. For me, it's encouraging creativity.
Right.
And it's encouraging people to realise that creativity is not just about drawing, it's not just about painting. For me, it's a mindset, and it's how you approach things. And if you're kind of providing people with those opportunities, then later down the line, they'll probably do it very, like, not realise that they're doing it. They've done something with making something. Come further down the line and they've got to problem solve something.
Yeah.
I think back to something they've already done that was creative and look at it that way.
Yeah.
It's kind of planting a seed of creativity, as it were.
Yeah.
To getting people thinking differently, using it for different things, because it's not just, it's a massive form of expression, and I think it's so accessible. It's not like, if you go back to school days when it's maths and science, those things, they're right or they're wrong.
Yeah.
And one thing I really like about the arts and creativity, there's not a right and a wrong.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
It's up to you how you interpret it. It's up to you how you make something. And that's how I run my sessions, unless it's specifically like a specific skill. So like I do jewellery workshops, that's a specific skill. If we kind of don't do it a certain way, it might not turn out as a... I mean, which is cool if you want to do that. But if you're paying to come and do a jewellery workshop, you kind of want to make some jewellery. You want to come away with a piece of jewellery. Yeah, like, just be expressive. Yeah. In that instance, it doesn't work. But for like some of my other sessions, the way I structure a workshop is, I'm here as a guidance. I'm not here to tell you what to do. Mm-hmm. It's not a lot of workshops I've been to over the years, and ones that I've run in the past, much more structured, and which is fine. I haven't got a problem with that. But for me, it doesn't work for what I'm trying to do. Yeah, it doesn't work for what I'm trying to offer, which is a chance for people to do things their way and discover things. Trying things out that they maybe wouldn't tried before. So that's kind of why I do that, and why I think it's important to do that. And I think the same for curatorial work that I do. putting an exhibition together, for me, it's not about telling people this is an exhibition about such and such.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Freemasons one kind of was.
Yeah.
That's a different thing.
Yeah.
But like for art exhibitions that
Yeah.
I've put together, it's about offering people a chance to interpret things for themselves. So, the example I always use, when I did my MA, I put this exhibition together,
Mm-hmm.
and I had no interpretation panel.
Right.
Which threw off the gallery so much. So the exhibition was at the collection in the Courtyard Gallery, and I had no interpretation panel. And I got asked multiple times, so you have an interpretation panel? I went, no. Oh, we always have an interpretation panel. Do you?
That's kind of the point.
And what I did instead was I called alternative interpretation. I did an interview with one of the archivists.
Okay.
And I asked her kind of what her role was as an archivist, and the relationship between her and the public and archives and artists. So it gave the exhibition a context,
Yeah.
but it didn't tell people exactly what it was about.
Yeah.
And then there was a handout that people could read in the space.
Yeah.
That's one of my other bugbears, is having handouts that you just can take away.
Right.
Because people don't actually really read them. Because it's just a repeat of the interpretation panel that's on the wall.
Yeah.
So I thought, but I also wanted to have that as an option.
Okay, yeah.
An interpretation panel is in your face, it's there, you can't really avoid it.
Yeah.
That's particularly the way people move around an exhibition. Most people go to the left. I have trained myself to go to the right because I'm an awkward person.
Yeah.
And so I had this sort of it wasn't an interpretation, it was kind of more like a publication.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a little context about the exhibition, there was written pieces by the artist, and I invited different people to write about archives from different perspectives.
Okay.
So it was just looking at it from historian's perspective, looking at it from somebody who actually works in a different museum, looking at it from an education perspective, so looking at an archivist's perspective, giving it more of a richer context for me.
Okay.
And then, or the only other text that was in the exhibition was the title of the exhibition, and then each artist's name underneath their work.
Yeah.
And that was it. Which
scares some people.
It does. But I think it's kind of challenging those norms of an exhibition.
Yeah. I think, in a way, like, so, because I have not strong views on workshops, but maybe views which kind of don't sit with people in a way. So, like, but that's because I make a very clear distinction in my head between what I consider to be art, what I consider to be expression and creativity, and what I consider kind of public service sort of thing. So what bugs me is when you get a workshop or an activity or something where they're describing it as art, because I'm like, well, it's not technically art unless they want it to be.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you can encourage people to create, and I think you should encourage people to create, and that's why you need afternoons and all this kind of stuff. But it's when people kind of get this misinterpretation, because art's such a catch-all word, where they'll come away and be like, well, no, I've been and made art. It's like, well, to me, it's like, you haven't been and made art. You've expressed yourself, and you've created, and that's fantastic. But until you add concept to that, you've just created.
As you were saying that, all I was imagining is kind of one of those sort of like those school workshops that you get where they've made, like, I don't know, it's about the Romans and they've made a little mosaic. I'd love for like a 5-year-old to come and go, well, the concept of this is...
Well, this is the thing.
If I ever have children, I'm going to teach my child to do that.
Definitely, because it's
going to be hilarious.
It's one of these crazy things that I always feel, it's one of these like points in my head where I always feel hugely pretentious about it. Because of it's, you know, everyone's like, oh, you know, art creation, and it's all hand in hand, and I'm in my head I'm like, it's not all hand in hand, because it needs linked. The context. It's linked, and they all have interlinking.
Yeah.
But it's the same as, like, you know, if you give someone pots and pans and they make noise because they want to make noise, that's not music. you know, they're not making music, they're expressing themselves.
Yeah.
And they're connected, but they're not the same.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I can understand that.
Because it's one of those things of, I think when I meet people who do put on workshops and like the one we did is
yeah, I remember how uncomfortable you felt doing that.
It's insane. I can't teach people. But it's just, just like, I'm like, it's when you meet people and I'm always curious which aspect they're trying to push. Are you trying to encourage people to create? Are you trying to encourage people to do things which they wouldn't usually do? Because it doesn't come naturally to everybody. Yeah. Like the one we did, that was essentially, well, my view of it was we were just encouraging people.
Yeah.
Or are they trying to encourage people to create art? Mm-hmm. In which case, to me, you've got to go at it from a different angle. Yeah. Yeah. Because I think as well, you kind of, I mean, there's a few spaces in Lincoln where I see them as art spaces because they're advertised as art spaces. Yeah. But they're utilised for non-art activity. But
are they used for creative activity?
Well, this is the problem, isn't it? Or at least my problem. So you're using that space for creative activity. Oh, interesting. Should you? Could this not be done somewhere else?
You need to take up with them.
Yeah. This is why I
don't live here anymore, so I'm not getting involved in this discussion.
But no, I do find it fascinating. It's that, I think as well, like, especially like from people who have created in the past, we see it as quite a natural thing. Yeah. And you forget that some people don't, in a way.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I've probably come across more people now that I've been doing more stuff in like communities that are like, oh, I don't do art. Yeah. I don't do that. I'm like, I'll just give it a go. Like, I've just done 5 weeks of doing workshops with 16-year-olds around creativity and mental health and getting them to like draw and we did like a graffiti wall, and they're like, I don't draw. And that very teenage, I don't draw. Can you write?
I don't do that.
I don't do that. I'm like, can you pick up this pencil? Some of them give you a bit of sass back, go, no. I'm like, that's unlucky for you then, isn't it?
You're going to struggle.
You're going to struggle. But the way I always open it with is like, I kind of set some ground rules and I ask people to be open-minded. I said, this may not be your thing, but what it might do is it might lead you to looking at what is your thing. Right. And it's looking at creativity as a mindset, and I think you can be creative in lots of different things. I don't think it's necessarily just, it's associated with art and all those traditional things, but it's much more than that. And it's, even if you look at like industry now, they're looking at how people can be creative in whatever job that you've got. A lot of businesses are looking at them now, and it's like, I'm actually interested to see how they perceive it. Okay. And go, this might be an interesting avenue to explore. Because it's people who it's out of their comfort zone. And I quite like working with people who it maybe is out of their comfort zone, because I try and run a workshop that makes it relaxed. Yeah. It doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to be like this precise thing, which really frustrates some people.
It does. People like boundaries.
Yeah. I'm like, you can do what you like. They're like, I can't cope with this plain piece of paper. I'm like, here, I draw a line on it. It's not blank anymore. You're all right. And so it is interesting, this kind of, this relationship between kind of what you were saying, between sort of what things are creative and then things that are specifically art. I would say I run more creative workshops than art workshops.
I mean, you work with people of all ages.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think current workshop spectrum, the youngest age is 2. Yeah. The oldest is about 60. So yeah.
Because
I can like, you're like, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
No, I don't think that's crazy. I think I'm curious from a point of view of, because so like you say, like teenagers will resist anything you give them because they're teenagers. That's their role.
But then some of them really embrace it because it's actually something they've not thought of before.
Yeah. But I feel like if you get to, I think from my view of when you grow up through schools and whatnot, the general, like what you say, is the general juxtaposition of your life is we are going to teach you how to logic. We're going to teach you how to fit boxes because everything has boxes, and therefore that will make life simple because that's what it does. It does make life simple to have everything in boxes. Yeah. So when you get to like 20s and 30s and you've done that all your life, breaking that is a huge problem. Yeah. Whereas for like a child, you give them paper and crayons, they'll be like,
I love doing workshops for kids because there's it's totally free. They'll just do what they feel like.
Do you find that with old people? Because I feel like they get to a point where they don't care.
Like, nah, I'm just going to do it anyway.
It's like, I'm past 60, I don't care.
Yeah, sometimes because if they've come with a certain skill set, they want to bring that in, which is cool. I like learning from other people as well. My workshop session next week for Crafternoon is something called quilling.
Quilling.
Yeah, which sounds really fancy.
It sounds like is it like ink pen?
No.
Oh.
It's things to do with paper and like making them like in like you kind of use different tools to like roll them into different shapes and then you make them into like different images.
Okay. That's interesting.
And one of the ladies who comes pretty much every week, she's got all like the equipment. She's like, oh, should I bring my equipment? And then I can show people what I do. Yeah. And that for me, that's what it's about.
That's pretty cool.
It's like skill sharing. That's something I'm really interested in is skill. I really don't have all the skills for all the things that I'd like to do. Yeah. So I need to learn from other people. I need to borrow other people's skills and hopefully we can exchange it. And I think that should be the new currency.
What skills?
Yeah. I think you'd get a lot further.
You could. I mean, it depends what you consider further as.
I think professionally, skill sharing is a good currency to work with.
It's not a bad one. It's one of these kind of like.
It doesn't pay your bills, but.
Yeah, I mean, it might do.
It might.
It's kind of self-cannibalizing though. If everyone shares their skills and everyone learns everything, at some point, nothing's going to be worth anything.
Well, but it's not necessarily like learning those skills completely. It's kind of saying like, I mean, we've had a conversation like obviously about supporting you to curate an exhibition, and then I need some support in putting a book together. Yep. That's skill swapping. I'm not necessarily going to learn. I don't think you want to learn curatorial skills from this conversation.
I feel like I want to learn them just so I can go against them.
I mean, I'm all about pushing the boundaries.
It's kind of like learn the rules just so you can break them.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of that, and I kind of do that. I like to think I do that a bit with curatorial practice, anyway. But I don't necessarily want to learn all those skills like from you helping me doing this book. Yeah. It's an exchange.
Okay. I see that.
Yeah. So that's kind of more the currency. I haven't got time to learn all the skills.
Don't learn everything.
Don't learn everything. It's not worth it. So no, I think that's quite. I'd quite like to see more of that.
Yeah. I don't think that say like through like workshops, curation and exhibitions and everything. I don't feel like there's ever a limit on what you can tap into.
No.
So I don't feel like, because some people kind of get to a point where they're like, well, it's extra stuff, or I haven't got time, or anything like that. To me, it's just like, well, you do little bits, and you can always just add on to whatever you're doing, and how it might help you interpret other things in your life. As you say, you don't know where it's going to be applied if you learn one thing to another thing.
And it's like I say, it's a mindset. It's actually thinking. I think a lot of like creative skills that you do in like workshops and things, it helps you to think outside the box. And that's why I love working with kids. I did a session on Wednesday for like this big community day in a park. It's very windy. It was interesting. I used paper. That was a bad decision.
Yeah, I'm seeing problems instantly.
I was like, kids, come and do this workshop. Sit on the paper. Just place children on.
Yeah, one on each corner.
Yeah. And it was, from the outside, it looked a very basic workshop. It was kind of using like natural materials to make masks and headbands, and I kind of said, right, because what kids ask now, first question they ask is, how do you do it?
Do what?
Make the thing that you want to do. How do you do it?
Okay.
How do you do it? And I go, you tell me. And they go, oh, I don't know about you. But what I've... Don't give that answer every time, because it does intimidate some kids.
How to intimidate children. Now, the title of this podcast.
Yeah. But what I kind of do now is, these are the materials.
Yeah.
I'm here to help you if you need my help.
Okay.
But you see what you can do.
Yeah.
And that's a little less scary, and they kind of go, woohoo, freedom!
Yeah.
And they do, because when they're at school,
yeah,
they have to do it a certain way.
I think maybe that's the thing. That's the key. Is giving people permission.
Yeah.
Because
because
so much of life is
do
this, don't do this, and then you come along and go, here's your permission slip.
Yeah.
Just off you go.
Yeah, give it a go. And it was interesting because some of like parents were joining in, and you could definitely see kind of parents who were doing things very precise, very to the T. As I would, if I'd written a sheet how to do it, that's how some of them were doing it, which is cool. Some of them were just going at it, which is great. And some parents were, because I've got obviously lots of different like natural materials and things like that. And there was one parent who really stood out, and she was, because I'd also bought like pens and crayons and things, because I knew it was going to be a wide range of children, because it was like a family orientated event, and a lot of the kids then gravitated towards it, and I was a little bit sad, because I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have brought them. I also ban rulers from my workshops.
Okay.
Because the amount of kids that go, can I have a ruler? No.
Learn to draw a straight line.
It's not
if
even
you want
that.
a straight line, just do it.
Yeah. But then it encourages them to think where they can find a straight line if I haven't got a ruler. Because I don't bring them.
Yeah.
It's not... If I did, I would not give it to them. But then they go and be like... It's looking at problem solving again. It's a very basic thing.
Yeah.
But they look at, where can I find a straight line that I can draw? If you really want a straight line, go and find one.
Yeah.
And they're like, look at me, it's slightly crazy to begin with. But then they realise what I mean, and then they go and find it. They go and find another sheet of paper and they line it up. But also, for me, I'm not a big fan of straight lines anyway. No. Doesn't make me the best curator in terms of hanging work.
Never learned to drive.
No.
Just like...
Yeah.
Across the road.
I mean, okay, straight lines have their place in the world. But and obviously,
I feel like this is your little bit of pretension, where you're like, no, you can't have straight lines in a workshop.
You can't have straight lines in a workshop.
This is the drama moment.
Yeah.
It's not going in there, no straight lines.
No. Yeah.
Round canvases only.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that'd be great. Yeah. And obviously, I've worked with artists, and obviously when I hang work, it is hung straight. It's not like wonky. There is a place for straight lines.
Yeah.
But it's not my preference. No. If in a workshop, you don't need a ruler, unless you really got to be precise. Like even if I'm doing I did a jewellery workshop last Sunday, and they've got to measure the length wide, no rulers. I was like, right, just go around your neck. Where do you want it to sit?
Yeah.
Make it a bit longer, because you can always trim it. I can't add on the wire afterwards. No ruler required. Still got a measurement.
I think that's a good point. And it comes around to that problem solving.
Yeah, it's around problem solving. It's around this kind of need to things to be precise. Which in some instances, fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I would definitely, in terms of just thinking very dramatically, I would like the person who's designing engines and things for cars and aeroplanes and transport. I like them to be precise. That's cool. That has a function.
That's a safety aspect.
That's a safety aspect. Me in a workshop, not necessarily doesn't need that precision.
Yeah.
And if you take that away, then it gets people kind of, it breaks down kind of this barrier that it has to be this certain way, it has to look precise, it has to look this way. I did consider banning rubbers at one point as well, which is...
Oh, you should definitely ban rubbers. My art teacher banned rubbers, and it teaches you to overdraw completely. And then you get told off for it in science class where they're like, no, you should just draw a straight line. I'm like, no, but I've drawn 7 lines, which make up 1 line.
Yeah. Yeah, so it swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
Yeah. I feel like that's a good point to bring it around to.
Yeah.
Is this whole idea of when you're doing things like that and doing activities and approaching things even in a clinical manner through workshops, curation, it's just about encouraging problem solving and creativity. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And we'll call it the end then. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Obviously we're going to discuss future events. Yes. Have you got activities coming up in the next month or so? I assume you have.
Yeah.
Is it all Northampton based?
Yeah, Northampton based with looking out. Looking out. Yeah. So yes, Northampton based things at the moment. Crafternoons, which is all going. I've just actually got a second location to try and spread it across the town. And then I'm co-running a project called The Start of Something NN.
Okay.
Which is all around kind of, there's a lot of negativity in Northampton.
Right.
You'll have to come up with...
It sounds my kind of place.
Yeah, lots of negativity. No, but also a lot of positive. There's negative representation of the town, and it's kind of, but it's just the issues that people have got are all across the country. It's like, the high street, everything's shutting down on the high street. Uproar last year when M&S closed.
Of course.
I know. I mean, I was a little bit upset, to be honest.
I don't care about M&S. M&S closed. I was like, that's great. Aldi still exists? Yes, fantastic.
The day Aldi shuts down, there will be anarchy. But the town centre, a lot of shops have closed, and the council hasn't got a good reputation, and it's kind of, I felt there was so much negativity. I just thought, this is not that bad. No. It's really not that bad. So it was kind of responding to that, and also a project that CVAN East Midlands, if you come across CVAN. No. So they're the Contemporary Visual Arts Network for the East Midlands. And they cover Northampton, because we are in the East Midlands. Just about holding on.
You're clinging on at the
edge. We're south of the East Midlands. Yeah. And it was kind of looking at that. They did this series of programmes called The Start of Something, and it was looking at how to use sort of the arts to start something positive in your area. Cool. And I wanted that idea, but not just having it as part of the arts, but having it as something what the community want. And so that has been happening since February, and we're doing like monthly events and looking at doing more of that, looking at how like as a community we can skill share, we can exchange kind of things and build the town up to something that the people want.
Nice.
And hopefully doing an exhibition around people in Northampton and storytelling.
Nice. Well, people should definitely check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. In that case, I'll leave links in the descriptions below. But thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you.
And we'll call it there. We'll talk to you guys later.
I'll let you do that.